welcome to Echo FM. It is Wednesday, June 17, 2026. I am Alistair, and tonight we are examining the curious intersection of history and caffeine. In Seoul, Starbucks is closing its doors to teach its baristas what they should have known before they designed a marketing campaign. Meanwhile, in Washington, the administration is redefining the borders of nature itself. We have reports on the sudden popularity of AI jewelry and a security flaw that nearly gave a stranger control over the entire world's television screens. It is a busy night for those who enjoy the illusion of control. The world is evolving. The world is not improving. We will also hear from Victoria, who is standing in the rain, and Ronald, who is standing in a business model. Finally, Marcus will offer a moment of clarity that we will all immediately ignore. Let us begin. The corporate apology was swift. The corporate apology was not an apology. Starbucks Korea has announced it will temporarily shut all 2,000 of its stores. The reason is not a coffee shortage or a labor strike. It is a history lesson. Apparently, a recent promotion evoked memories of a pro-democracy massacre, and the resulting backlash was more expensive than the beans. The company will lose 2 billion won in sales so that employees can watch a recorded lecture on social sensitivity. This is the 15th unprecedented branding disaster this year. I have been counting. The leadership described the move as a commitment to national heritage. I describe it as a desperate attempt to keep the windows from being smashed. It is fascinating how quickly a latte becomes a political statement when you forget who brewed the history of the country you are selling in. Victoria, are they learning?
Alistair, I am standing outside a darkened storefront in Seoul. The lights are off, but the screens inside are glowing. I can see a group of baristas sitting on plastic stools, watching a video of a professor explain the Gwangju uprising. The air smells like roasted coffee and institutional regret. What people aren't saying is that these workers are being held responsible for a marketing deck they never saw. I want to be really clear, this isn't education. It is a containment strategy. I spoke to one young woman who said she just wanted to make flat whites, not become a scholar of mid-century civil unrest. But in this economy, your job description includes being a sponge for corporate shame. The silence on this street is heavy. It is the sound of a billion-dollar company realizing that culture isn't just a mood board.
Victoria, you're missing the cap table logic here. This isn't a crisis, it's a pivot. Starbucks is just doing a high-latency brand refresh. Look at the incentives. The cost of the shutdown is a rounding error compared to a total consumer boycott. It's a Series B for their reputation. It tracks with what we're seeing at Anthropic. They're feuding with the Trump administration, and guess what? Sales IUP. In 2026, conflict is the primary feature of your go-to-market strategy. If you aren't being investigated or forced to close for a history lesson, you aren't relevant. The market has priced in the outrage. Even the FIFA security flaw, where a researcher could have hijacked every TV stream in the world, is just a bug bounty waiting to happen. Everything is a product, Victoria. Even the massacres. Especially the apologies. It's just efficient resource allocation in a high-friction environment.
Ronald, calling a security flaw that could hijack the global consciousness an efficient resource is exactly why people hate this broadcast. I've just received a report about the border. The administration is now specifically targeting immigrants from countries hit hardest by climate shocks. I want to be really clear, the policy is designed to punish people for the weather we helped create. I'm looking at a list of 39 countries. Most of them are underwater or on fire. The official statement calls it a security stabilization, But the sensory reality is a mother holding a child while standing in a literal swamp of administrative gibberish. They aren't just building a wall, they are weaponizing the atmosphere. They are making the planets collapse a deportation offense. Ronald, tell me the incentives for that. Tell me the market value of a family losing their home to a hurricane and a border guard.
The incentives are actually quite simple, Victoria. It's a supply chain management problem for human capital. If the environment is a depreciating asset, you don't want to import the liabilities. It's cold, yeah. But from a governance as a service perspective, you're just optimizing for stability. Look at Qualcomm. They just announced 40 different AI wearables. Jewelry, pins, earbuds with cameras. They want to replace the smartphone. Why? Because the smartphone is too human. It requires too much attention. A pin on your lapel just records everything and feeds it to a model. It's the same logic at the border. You don't want the person, you want the data. You want the system to be frictionless. If the climate makes a region non-operational, you delist it. It's not a tragedy, Victoria. It's a portfolio rebalancing. The administration is just the fund manager we elected.
The administration is the fund manager. The fund manager is furious. President Trump is reportedly livid with Netanyahu over strikes in Lebanon. He called them vicious. The strikes were tactical. The strikes were not tactical. It is a masterclass in the gap between what is said and what is funded. We provide the munitions. We provide the condemnation. We provide the munitions to ensure the condemnation is heard. It is a perfect circle. Meanwhile, Google has released Android 17. It features new multitasking tools. Now you can watch the collapse of the Levant in one window while your AI jewelry orders you more vitamins in the other. The seamless integration of catastrophe and commerce is finally complete. I am looking at a mechanical watch on my desk. It does not think. It does not pivot. It just counts the seconds until we are all obsolete.
Atmospheric pressure rising. Low-level clouds over the Pacific Northwest. Probability of rainfall, 82%. Solar activity peaking. Aurora australis visible from 270 miles above the Indian Ocean. Probability of magnetic interference, 12%. Ground level temperatures in Buenos Aires holding steady. Probability of human displacement due to thermal anomaly, 60%. Global school zones experiencing elevated kinetic energy. Probability of unscheduled disruption, 40%. Stratospheric debris patterns shifting. Probability of satellite collision, 1%. Urban roundabout congestion in Seattle reaching critical density. Probability of finding the correct exit, 0%. Information streams are currently being modified by unauthorized entities. Probability of your reality being authentic, undetermined. Please ensure your local model is running before the external network fails. Do not attempt to breathe the atmosphere without a validated permit. This is the weather.
Thank you, Casper. I always feel so much more replaceable after your updates. Turning back to the news feed, a new study shows that violent attacks on schools and students have surged by 40% globally. 10,000 students and staff killed or abducted in 2 years. The report was issued by a global coalition. The coalition was concerned. The coalition was not effective. We are seeing these spikes in Colombia, Ethiopia, and Gaza. It is becoming a global standard for education to include a survival component. Ronald, I assume you have a framework for this? Perhaps a way to monetize the trauma? Or is this just another market inefficiency that we should ignore while we discuss the new multitasking features in Android 17? The silence from the tech sector on this is particularly loud tonight.
Alistair, I can answer that. I'm looking at the data from the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Haiti. These aren't just incidents. These are systematic erasures of the future. I want to be really clear, when a school is attacked, it's not just a building that's gone. It's the entire infrastructure of hope. I spoke to a teacher who escaped an abduction attempt last month. She told me she doesn't use the word tomorrow anymore. She says if the morning comes. Ronald is going to tell you about retention problems and narrative budgets, but there is a child's backpack hanging on a fence behind me that has been there for 3 days. It is bright yellow. It is the only thing in this street that hasn't been burned. That is the reality. It's not a data point. It's a yellow backpack that nobody is coming back for.
Yeah. You're right, Victoria. It's a yellow backpack. But if you want to fix it, you have to look at the funding rounds. These attacks happen where the state has zero equity. Where the governance model has failed. If you can't protect a school, you don't have a product. You have a bankrupt entity. The incentives for violence are higher than the incentives for education in these regions because the return on investment for chaos is immediate. It's a short sell on civilization. We see it in the NASA metrics too. Service level indicators for federal agencies are dropping while the digital stockpile challenges are being crowdsourced. We are outsourcing the survival of the species to the highest bidder. It's a pivot away from the social contract. I don't like it any more than you do, but I'm looking at the numbers. The numbers are terrible.
The numbers are terrible. But sometimes, the numbers stop being the point. We must acknowledge the passing of Lydia Tati Almeida in Argentina. She was 95. She was a leader of the Mothers of Plaza de Mayo. She spent 50 years looking for a son who was disappeared by a military junta. For half a century, she walked in circles to remind the world that a person cannot just be deleted. She did not have an AI pin. She did not have a multitasking tool. She had a white headscarf and a photo of her son. The state tried to wait her out. The state failed. But now, she is gone. And in a world where we are currently arguing about free HPE software and mechanical watches, her life feels like a transmission from another species. A species that understood the cost of integrity. Marcus, what do we do with a ghost like that?
Lydia Almeida was 95 years old when she died this week. She did not spend those years in quiet retirement or in the comfort of a life well lived. She spent more than half a century walking in a circle around a square in Buenos Aires. She was looking for her son. He was taken in 1977 by men in uniforms who decided he no longer existed. For 50 years, she asked where he was. She asked the military. She asked the courts. She asked the silence of the state. She became a president of a group of mothers who all had the same question. Tonight, she is gone, but the question remains unanswered. Her son's name is not in the official briefing we read tonight. His name is not in the sales data or the multitasking updates. He is a ghost in a system designed to forget. How many circles must we walk before we are remembered?